Hi everyone and welcome to SÜF Products, where each knot is spun with care. Today I'm gonna show you how to use a stuffed tubes to braid the cushion. Depends on the length, it can be used as a back support, lumbar support, or as a headboard for the bed or couches, benches. Some people use it as a door stoppers or put this in the pets cages. So it's multiple use. I have to mention it and warn you at the same time that some people use it as a crib bumper. But this piece is just decorative accent, and you have to make sure that it's not dangerous and safe for your child. Subjects like blankets, stuffed animals, pillows, cribs, anything else inside the bed or crib might cause suffocation, any other unexpected situations, and please make sure that it's safe for your child attached to the bed or the crib or any other strong subject what can hold it inside. Alright, now let's talk about stuffed tubes and what we have to do with them to make a braided cushion. If you still don't know how to make a stuffed tubes, don't forget to watch our previous video where we cover a step-by-step tutorial how to make them. If you make the stuffed tubes on your own, don't forget to pin it that while you're braiding the stuffing don't go everywhere. One end of the tubes will be already stitched by sewing machine. The other end, if you bought it ready, it's probably already stitched. But if you do it on your own, you have to stitch it by hands if needed, unless you're doing different style of braiding and you need it to be open till the end of the braid. I'm gonna show you how to start and add your braided cushions, how to stitch it, attach it, or maybe you come up with your own way to do so, but this is like a basic stuff. And if you have any other suggestions or requests, you can drop it down in comments below for us. We're here to help you out, answer your questions, and share our experience. And maybe you have something to share with us. As for the hand stitching, if you've never done it before, it's very easy. You just thread the needle with a thread and you pinch one side of the fabric, second side of the fabric, and pull it out that both sides connected. Here is a detailed video how we usually do it, and while you reach out to the end, you just make a knot by tying in the same spot twice and cut the thread. That's usually more than enough to keep the tube closed and that stuffing doesn't come out. If you're mixing two colors, I suggest you stitch them on the stuffing machine from the beginning. The easiest way to start your braided cushion, if you have a multiple colors, usually if you braid 3 strands, it's 3 colors, you stitch by sewing machine 2 of the tubes, and then you just place the third one in the middle where the colors start blending, and then you just start braiding it as normal braid as usually you do for your hair. The only thing with braiding these cushions, if it's a long one, you will have a little bit of trouble. While you're braiding, the other ends kind of get tangled, that every time you need to pull them out from the other edges to make sure that you can continue to braid it. As you can see, I started the braid and now they got tangled, so now I need to pull them out to make it straight, and then I continue to braid it. This way, one of the end of the braided cushion is already ready, and you don't have to figure out how to connect 3 strands together that they did not unbraid the back. Depending on the length, it might take you from 10 minutes to 1 hour to braid it. Depends what you're planning to do with it. But the process is easy. You're just taking outside strands and put them over the middle one. from right side to the center, from the left side to the center, over the middle tube. If you're having a hard time with other edges tangled, take your time and unbraid them, because it might get even more complicated to continue your braid. It takes some time, and later you can adjust the length, you can adjust how wide it is. Usually from our stuff tubes, which is 3 inches, while we're braiding, we're gonna get 6 inches wide braid, and you can stretch it up and down or wide just by pulling tubes out. So it might be a little bit wider or a little bit longer, depends on your needs. So here we finally got to the end, and what might happen, the tubes has a different length, and it seems to be a trouble. How do I connect them if they have a different length? But here's what we're gonna do. To make them even, right now we need to pull the tubes backwards. Depends which one is the longest one. We're gonna try to weave it through the braid backwards until we run out of the sticking out tube. As you can see, in our case, the blue tube ended up to be the longest one. So we keep weaving it backwards through the braid until we're out of the sticking out tube. Now we do the same process with the white one to make sure that they all the same length by the end of our braid. It might seem a little bit complicated, and it's get to that point that you might need to braid it backwards, but take your time and you can fix it and adjust it anytime. Our main goal to make them even, that we can complete the edge of our braid. Let's see what we can do with the edges. You can just stitch each and every tube if it's still open. Take the ribbon and just tie it around. If that's something what you think is easier for you and you don't want to complicated stuff and stitch it by hands. So this is option number 1. You can stitch each and every one tube if it's open, and tie the ribbon and attach it to the strong subject that it can hold, that braid can hold on to it and doesn't move. The second option is a little bit more complicated and takes time and patience, but one of the tubes, if it's open, you connect it, you kind of wear it over the other tube and you hand stitch it. So one of the tubes gonna be free and 2 others connected to each other. With the beginning, we was able to stitch it on the sewing machine, but on the other end we have to do it by hands because tube's already ready and we can't put it through the sewing machine. So same as you did for the tubes, just by simple hand stitching, you pick your needle, put the thread through, and you're catching one side of the one type of fabric and other side of the other fabric, and just go all over the around the tube. Make sure there is no empty spots while you're stitching, or you always can add some more stuffing that it doesn't look empty. And try to connect the seams. It might be a little bit off, but try to connect the seams of both tubes together, and that the main surface look nice and smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect stitching. The main point is just to connect it, that stuffing doesn't come off, because later we're gonna hide the stitch inside the braid, that it's not gonna be visible anymore. Once you're done, you tie double knot to make sure it's not gonna open anymore. And now we're gonna hide it in our braid by simply pulling it inside, and most likely it's gonna be hidden under the free tube. You can leave it open but hidden, or you can hide it and stitch it to make sure during the time it doesn't show off again and it's not visible on the braid. As for the free tube, what we left alone, we just stitch it to make sure stuffing doesn't come off. We hand stitch the edge, and then we can adjust the whole braid to look nice, smooth and perfect. If any seams you see coming off, you can hide them and stitch it in between the tubes. It's not going to be visible, at least from the main side. From the back side, it's okay if it's going to be a little bit sticking out, because usually you put it front side that people can see, and the back side is attached to any subject, strong subject what can hold your braided cushion. Now to attach your tube to any subject, you just connect two edges of the tube together and hand stitch them. So you weave your needle through one edge and then another edge, and just pull it and stitch twice or three times that it's make a loop, which is you can later weave the ribbon or any other ties you have, tie the bow or attach it to the bench, rail or any other strong subject what can hold your braid. Once we're done with the second edge, we can braid backwards to make sure our braid is nice and even. We can stretch it out to make it wider or stretch it up and down to make it skinnier. Depends on which length you need. And now we back to our first edge, which is we're gonna do the same as we did with the last one. We connect two edges of the tube together to make a loop and weave the ribbon through. Just make a couple stitches, make sure it's not gonna be unstitched later. Tie the double knot on it. Double check that it's strong enough to not break the loop. Again, this type of stitching we're just doing for decorative purposes. If you don't have time to hand stitch it, it's okay. You just leave it as it is and just weave the ribbon through the braid and attach it however you need it. We're just showing kind of an advanced way to make it look nice. And same thing, we take a ribbon and weave it through. If you have time to do a couple more stitches, you can stitch that sticking out tube to the mixed color to make sure that it's not unbraid during the time. But if you're okay with it, leave it as it is. You're free to do so. So you just take the free tube and attach it by hand stitching to the mixed color tubes. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's going to be hidden inside, but for you, you will know that it's secured and will not unbraid or nothing going to happen with it if your kids play with it or pets or something else can happen. Double check that stitch is strong, and that's it. Our braid is ready You can readjust it through the length, put the ribbons inside, tie the bows, or attach it later with the bow to whatever is possible and whatever you need it to. So this is the complete tutorial of stitched and finished product with all the stitching inside out, the braid nice and even, hidden stitches. If you don't have time for it, you don't have to do it. Just make sure that stuffing doesn't sticking out and that it's attached to your subject good enough. You can use different ties, ropes, or just simple satin ribbons, whatever you can find. To secure your tube, you just simply take a stripe or ribbon, weave it through the braid and the spot where you need it to attach. Make sure that nice side facing you and the side with seams and stitching facing the subject. Tie your ribbon or ties that it can be strong enough to hold it and not falling down. And to make sure that it's secure, just pull a little bit your braid and see if the ribbon or ties will untie or they still stay in the position, or readjust it if needed. Please let us know if this video was helpful to you or something I forgot to cover or explain. We're more than happy to help you out and add some more details if needed. Let us know if you've done before your braid, how was your experience, and which difficulties you met. It's gonna be helpful for other people too as well. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like. We will more than happy to continue our channel with more tutorials and more different ideas. If you have something you want to see in the next video, you can leave the comment as well below. And thank you again. Bye.